What's up, guys? All right, what's up? How's everybody doing tonight? Gonna screw around with this lighting again. Turns out that's as light as I can get it. Let me see something here. Oh yeah. Oh, it's actually not that bad. Hmm. Guess I don't need that anymore then. Good to know. All right, I'm just waiting for a few people to sign on. If you're here, let me know. Want to say hi to everybody. Who all's here? Drink of choice tonight is milk. All right. How's everybody been doing? It's been a busy day for me. Had a few errands to run. Hair's a mess. Styled it this morning and now it's a mess. Gonna give it a few more minutes and see if anyone signs on. Like I said, if you're, hey, Krista B, how you doing? I got my hair cut and colored again. Do you like it? Hmm. I'm just giving it a few minutes to see if anyone else signs on. So, hmm. Like I said, not much been going on today. Worked on some schoolwork, worked on this. Krista B, is your man there with you? Hi. Tell him I said hi. Well, he can see me. Hi. I don't know. I don't know how he feels about his name being used on the internet, so all right. Trying to see if anybody else is going to sign on right now. It says there's one person on. I'm going to give it a minute. He doesn't care if I use his name. Okay. That's good to know. Hmm. All right. It says I got two people on now. Let's see who it. Hey, Casper, how you doing? I was wondering if you were going to make it. Do you all have your drinks? Hi, Nessa. Nessa, I got my hair cut. You got yours done. It made me think I need mine done. What do you think? I got the back done too. So she says it looks super just like her hair. Her hair looks awesome. So oh, new merchandise. New merchandise from Casper's Friendly Store. And I even got I even got the socks on. Yeah, Casper, I got the shirt, I got the socks, got the cup. It feels really good, Casper. It feels like real good quality. It is so soft. I was out walking the other day and I got so many compliments on it. They said they've never seen such a cool looking shirt. So, well, I guess since everyone's here that's going to show, I guess we'll get started. Ashley was the one that designed it, right? Okay, so this week's Jar of Rebuke episode is called Cherry Tobacco. The podcast opens up with Jared saying that he's struggling to audio journal consistently, and he mentions that Dr. DeMond has been asking him. I'm not speaking too loud, am I, guys? I'm not too loud. Am I speaking too loud? Anybody tell me if I'm speaking too loud? I got a big mouth, so no. Okay. All right. All right. So he mentions that Dr. DeMond has been asking him how the audio journaling's been going, and he mentions that he doesn't really know what to tell Dr. DeMond because she's already heard pretty much everything he has to say about what's going on with him, so not really much to talk about. He mentions that he spent time with Darius for his birthday. They met at the Waytooth restaurant, and he mainly hung out with Darius because he didn't know. Jeff, I didn't know you had your own YouTube channel. What the heck? And shut up. You got a mouth just as big as mine. It's a Thompson thing. Anyway, he stayed mostly by Darius because he doesn't really know any of the other people that were there. They ate dinner. They went outside and enjoyed the weather. Jared mentions that he loves fall. He prefers wearing layers versus the hot summer heat. Then they went to a drive-in, and they spent most of the time not even watching the film. They just talked about embroidery. Darius said he is into embroidery, even though he's a little embarrassed to admit that. But I honestly think that those two were flirting heavily. I mean, hanging out together. I can't tell you how many times me and Lenny, when we went to movie dates, we would just sit there and bullshit with each other because, we're just so in love. I'm sure everybody's been there. Darius asked, too many doctors in this show, Casper. They're all hard to keep track of. So Darius asked if he'd like him to make something for him. And Jared mentions that he likes birds, specifically blue jays, the assholes of the bird world, and he hates geese. Who doesn't hate geese? So he mentions that Dr. Casilio and him have investigated the strong energy signals that they detected a few days ago, and they investigated both daytime and nighttime. Didn't find the source of anything going on. They just found corn upon corn. So they passed their time in the lab by reorganizing files. Jared says that he'd rather be busy than bored, so that's a mood right there. He saw his old lab partner, Dr. Lomack, and Dr. Lomack, along with the rest of the group there, has no idea why they've been switched around in their labs and all that. And Dr. Carmen says, don't worry about it. I'm telling you, Dr. Carmen, if I ever talk to Dr. Carmen, me and him going to have some words, I'll tell you what. So Dr. Carmen says, don't worry about it. So Jared gets an email from Dr. Carmen basically saying, pack a bag and go stay at the town's inn, which is called the Chronicle Inn Bed and Breakfast. Jared says that I guess Dr. Carmen's got quite an ego. He thinks he's hot shit on a silver platter, but more like a cold turd on a paper plate, if you ask me. He talks himself up in his emails for a few paragraphs and makes a point of saying It's a privilege to do what I ask you to do. Me and him gonna have some words. Uh, Dr. Carmen tells Jared that the reason he wants him to go stay at this inn is because they plan to renovate his house's plumbing. Jared makes a point to say that he's surprised that they're actually going to do something about the crappy water temperature in his place. So apparently, the enclosure is not very privy on getting on something when one of their workers, has a problem. As mentioned in Snipe Hunt, when his glasses were damaged, he said that good luck if he was going to get a replacement anytime soon. So this enclosure sounds like a heck of a place to work. Holy crap. He can see Todd's smug smile through the email, and he says that he knows that Todd's going to hold this subtly over Jared. I hate passive aggressive people. Dr. Carmen seems like the ultimate epitome of ego and passive aggressiveness. So the Chronicle Inn Bed and Breakfast is run by Esther and Laura. They're an older married couple. The bed and breakfast is mainly a restaurant and a home goods store, which, small towns, that's always a good thing to have. Jared believes that he was purposely put at the bed and breakfast because they put him in a room that is known in the town for having a supernatural entity known as the Blue Lady. Uh, Here's another piece of proof that the enclosure is a sucky place to work for. Jared says, oh, that's from school. I'll deal with that later. Jared says that they're probably not going to pay him for this investigation. And he also says, and I quote, "It's not like they pay me for full work anyways." Now, what the heck kind of place is the enclosure that you've got people going out, getting hurt, getting killed, and the such, and you ain't paying them? I mean, are you telling me that the only thing that they provide for their workers is shelter and maybe just enough allowance for food? I mean, what the heck? Jared, you need to find a different job. What the heck? Man. So, like I said, he's put in a room that's known for paranormal activity. He goes upstairs because the room is upstairs, and he mentions that as soon as he gets to the top of the steps, the atmosphere changes. It feels cooler, which is normally a telltale sign that, some kind of supernatural stuff is going on. The room has a balcony, which looks over some gardens, which pretty nice if this is a small town inn and they have balconies overlooking gardens. It sounds like a really nice place. He says that while he's in his room, he feels like he's being watched. He says he says that in the room is a blue lamp. It's a real pretty shade of blue, and this entity is known to manifest itself when the light is turned on. So he turns the light on, and no sooner does he turn the light on, he notices that she is standing over near the door. And he notes that when she appears, he smells what he describes as tobacco. He starts talking to her. They both seem annoyed while they're speaking to each other. And it has been confirmed that Jared is a salty bitch. That's been confirmed. She asks who he is, and he responds by saying he's Dr. Jared Hell, and he works at the enclosure. She says she knows what he is. She wants to know who he met. She says that they've not exactly met. That's not the word that she would use, but she mentions that they've interacted indirectly before. She's watched him from afar, and she knows what he does for work. So he says that he's not sure why he's even in that room because he usually doesn't study things like her, which means that gives a little hint that the enclosure doesn't really study things like ghosts. They study more like the cryptids, like, Bigfoot, Mothman, the not deers, the such. Um, He explains that the house is under renovation and he's unclear why exactly he's there. But he makes a point to mention that he thinks that Todd's messing with him because he would totally be the type of person to do that. I don't need to say anything right there. So she says that after he responds saying that he thinks Todd's messing with her, she says, when did he start putting up with that? He takes the time then to bitterly explain about his amnesia situation. And he says to her, if they met or interacted longer than 2 years ago, he has no memories of that time. She notices that he's doing an audio journal and she asks about it. He says that it's easier to speak his journal than it is to sit down and write it. She says that she's not used to interaction because normally people aren't able to understand her very well. So it sounds like she's giving a unspoken apology for her lack of ability to talk, hold a conversation. He asks how long she's been there, and he says she really has no idea. The rumor is that she's been there since the town was established. He asks when they interact, and she says many, many years ago, and that he's changed. So right there, I'm going to stop for a minute. Casper, could you give a confirmation as to about the age range that Jared is in, or are you unable to provide that information? You could even just say no comment. Are you able to answer that? Mid-20s. Okay. So he's in his mid-20s. So she's saying that if he met many, many years ago, that to me is giving a hint that something's going on that Jared is not only aware about and possibly goes back to my theories from the pilot episode that he is either a cryptid or possibly some kind of supernatural being of some sort himself. He snaps at her again, says that he doesn't remember and that all these cryptic messages are basically pointless. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a headache hits him. And when she sees that he's got this headache, she says that they won't be getting far right now, which means whatever they're talking about isn't going to do a lick of good while he's going through this headache. And like that, she disappears. He becomes pissed, very pissed, because he's being given lack of information. Nice. I haven't watched that. I haven't watched that in a long time, Krista. He's pissed because people want him to remember what's happening, but nobody will really give him a direct way on how to remember. He doesn't believe that people are truly supportive of him and that he's basically done with everything and he's about to sign off on the audio recording. Right before he signs off, he mentions that he notices that she left a blue ribbon. It's 4 to 5 inches long. It's frayed at the ends, and it's the same color as this blue lamp that he turned on to get her to appear. There's writing on the ribbon, and it reads, "You need to remember." Once again, he gets very, very angry. He says, "Remember what?" He's tired of the mystery, and he just wants some answers. And I don't blame the guy for being bitter. I mean, all he wants to do is know who he is. And everybody's like skipping around him, dancing with words, avoiding the conversation. So it makes me really wonder, like he said, what happened that they're not wanting to tell him or are afraid to tell him. Now, that is the end of my notes that I took from the actual podcast itself. Now, oh, Casper, I want to see your reaction for this. So, Casper, I got a direct question for you, my good sir. You still on here? Waiting to see if he's still. All right. I am going to say one thing, and I'm anxious to see what your response is. So I'll tell you what it is, and then I want you to respond. Story in. I'm waiting to see what he says. I knew it. I knew it. Okay. I did a little research, and honestly, I stumbled across this totally by chance. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So I went on to Google because I like to research the creatures and the entities that are in this story. Because Casper, you can confirm that a lot of this information is based off of stuff that you experienced in your home state of Indiana, correct? Just gonna give him a minute. Sometimes typing takes a little bit. Right, right, because this is a Midwest Gothic type story. Okay, so I did a little bit of research. Like I said, I went on to Google and I've heard of stories of gray ladies and ladies in red and the such. I figured there's got to be something out there about blue ladies too. Okay, so I Googled blue lady, and ding, ding, ding. One of the first things that came up was the Story Inn Bed and Breakfast located in Nashville, Indiana. It is, by what I'm understanding, the state's oldest country inn. Now, I printed off a few things here that I want to read over. It says Dr. George Story founded the village of Story in 1851. Story became a booming settlement a few decades later, but it was abandoned after the Great Depression. Rick Hofstetter purchased the town in 1998. He never believed in ghosts, so he was surprised to find documentation of paranormal activity in the inn's guest books. One of the most well known ghosts is the Blue Lady, and she is said to be the wife of Dr. George Story. Remember back in this podcast, she said that she doesn't know how long she's been there, but the rumors are she's been there since the town established. Casper, you think you're sneaky, don't you? You really think that people, especially me, are gonna figure this out. I love this. You really picked some good stuff to go by, buddy. This is awesome. Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to see. Uh, the inn, it looks like, was built in the late 1970s by a local couple who purchased the general store. Once again, restaurant and home goods store. Uh, it jump started Story's revitalization. Couple added the Story Inn bed and breakfast to the store and ran it successfully for 15 years, eventually purchasing the additional 23 acres of the town along the way. Uh, okay. Since then, Hofstetter has been flooded with tales of the inn's paranormal activity. Though he initially brushed them off, the claims could no longer be ignored when Hofstetter combed through old guest books and discovered identical accounts of ghostly happenings that were decades apart. According to guests who stay in the particular room above the store, the ghost of a woman appears by the bed, in the mirror, or as a reflection in the window, if the blue light on the nightstand is turned on. Casper, by any chance, have you actually stayed in this room? Like, have you been there? Have you seen this exact room? Ah, okay. So I also got some pretty pictures. Now, let me find the. I've been in there. Uh, well, first off, guys, I found a few photos. And Casper, I hope you'll be able to verify if these photos are correct. So this is what I found, a photo of the inn itself. So it says the Story Inn, 1851. So I'm hoping that that is an actual photo of the inn. Casper, can you confirm? All right, cool. So that is the actual inn. So I also found this photo of the blue lamp. So can we confirm supposedly that that's the lamp? Or you said you didn't stay there, but do you know what it looks like by any chance? Awesome. Now I also found a photo of the actual blue lady room, and right there is the lamp. So looks like a nice little room. I can definitely see Jared would love that bed. Um, Now this is another one that I'm hoping is legit, but we mentioned the balcony that was overlooking the garden. Now this doesn't look to me like it's overlooking a garden, but I found this photo and it supposedly came up under Story Inn, so I don't know if that's actually the balcony. Casper, you have any idea? Oh, okay. So my homework actually was worth it. Okay, so now a little description of the lady in blue, because there really wasn't too much description in the actual podcast. Uh, she a little description of her. She's usually seen clad in a flowing white gown, wanders the room as if no one else is there. Other times she will acknowledge the guests. She smells of cherry tobacco, and that leads people to believe that she is Jane Story, the wife of the village founder. Apparently, Mrs. Story had a strong preference for cherry tobacco. Uh, she is given the name of the Blue Lady because her eyes are supposedly icy blue, and she has a habit of leaving behind blue colored ribbons in her wake. Casper, y'all think y'all pulling one over. This is great. This is great. I'm so glad that you decided to put this in your podcast. Oh my gosh. So, yeah. Uh, so even though the owner of the inn, Rick Hofstetter, he's still skeptical of the uh still somewhat skeptical of the activity. He has named the room at the top of the stairs the Blue Lady Room, and he's come to accept the supernatural history of the inn, and he continues the tradition of leaving a guest book in every room so visitors can document their experiences. Okay, so my theory as of right now is this entity is the deceased wife of the town's founder. Uh, it's not clear how she died. Excuse me. It's not clear how she died. Must not have been anything super traumatic if she doesn't remember it, because I'm sure if she died a tragic death, she'd possibly remember it. But what fascinates me is that she said that she met Jared or interacted with him indirectly many years ago. She knows Jared. She may not have directly talked or spoken to him, but she knows him. So I am wondering if something supernatural is going on with Jared. I did a little research on headaches and paranormal activity, and this is what I found. Headaches can be a sign of a curse or negative energy. Pay attention to headaches that consistently affect you when you have spent time in one particular place. So the places that I believe I've heard that these headaches occur. They occur in his house. Little black children, random not deer, something's going on there. He usually gets a headache sometimes in the enclosure, I believe. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that was said, but I don't see why he wouldn't. If he gets headaches because of negative energy, then he said that there are cryptids kept way down underground, so you can't tell me that some of them don't put out some negative energy that would affect him. And he says he's gotten it here at the inn. So something is going on that is causing Jared to have these headaches. I believe he's got some kind of psychic abilities. He may not be aware of it, but he definitely has something psychic going on with him. When the knot deer chased him out of the woods in Snipe Hunt, he said that he heard what sounded like a banshee scream coming out of the woods. Now, it's not confirmed that it was a banshee, hence why they're wondering what these energy spikes are, but I have a feeling that that scream is caused by something that's going to be a major part of this story. And I believe, as of right now, that the source of that scream is probably such a big piece in this story that it is directly affecting Jared somehow in ways that he's not aware. And I've said all along that the enclosure is hiding something from him. Nobody wants to say nothing. Why not? I mean, what is really so hard about, I don't know about you, but if I had a friend who had amnesia and wanted to know what happened, I'd be sitting there begging them and explaining exactly what happened. But these guys are just dancing around him, so they're trying to hide something from him. The more and more I get details about the enclosure, the more and more I hate it. So that pretty much wraps up everything that I have to say tonight. Now, Casper, my husband Lenny finally got to listen to all three of your podcasts, and he's kind of come up with his own theory on the whole story in general. So I'm going to call him up here. Hey, Lenny, come up here and give your theory. Casper wants to hear it. Now, just be patient with Lenny. He takes a while to gather his thoughts, and he's not usually the best at public speaking, so just bear with him. Just kneel down here, Lenny. Guys, I don't know if you met. This is my husband, Lenny. Hi. This is my boo. So I'm going to move the camera a little closer. All right, Lenny, I want you to go ahead and give your theory as to what is going on with Jared and the other people's involvements.
I gave an overview to Becky beforehand, but I got to thinking and I got to add more to it after I got done with what she already knows. Dr. Jared when he was in the inn talking to this, I'll call her spirit lady. I think with the incident that happened was between not some kind of an animal and Dr. Jared. I think it was between Dr. Todd and Dr. Jared because they both had love for the same woman, that spirit woman. I think Dr. Jared got married to the spirit woman when she was still living. Dr. Todd was still Dr. Jared's boss, and he found out that she got married to him. He had to dump her. Well, he did that, and he wanted to go and marry the spirit woman. They went and did that, but when they got married, the spirit woman, Dr. Todd got so drunk at the wedding that they had their honeymoon in that inn. And when they had their honeymoon, Dr. Todd got so drunk, he spilled the beans of what he did to Dr. Jared to his new wife. His new wife then got so distraught because in between the time that Dr. Jared dumped the spirit lady went and berated Jared for dumping her. Well, she felt like she couldn't go back to Dr. Jared because she berated him for dumping her. But when he found out that Dr. Todd made him do it, she didn't want to stay with him anymore. So before she went and wrote a note to the people who were at the inn and asked if it could get sent to Dr. Jared. Well, then after she got the note wrote, she was so distraught from learning about Dr. Todd doing this to Dr. Jared. She still loved Dr. Jared so much, she killed herself right in that room. After that happened, the whole incident, I think, was Dr. Jared went to Dr. Todd after he got the letter that she sent to Dr. Jared. They got in a fight so bad that it knocked him out and got him put in the coma. And Dr. Jared went and dropped the note. Dr. Todd got it, put it in a place where he's so sentimental about being married to the spirit lady, he can't get rid of it, but he's put it under lock and key. And the key that's around Dr. Jared's neck is the one that unlocks the door or unlocks the safe that has the note that would clear him from the note that the spirit lady sent to him, which he would remember everything. And the spikes that they keep on seeing in the woods, if the inn is close enough to where that cornfield is, I've heard that the aura of the person who is directly located to the building or the room can only go so far out of the area. But I think that is the spirit lady's aura trying to go out and try and find Dr. Todd. And that banshee was her trying to yell for him, but he never goes out of the complex where he's at. And this is why Dr. Todd is so supposedly nice and happy, because he's pulling something over on Dr. Jared that he was married and married to the woman that he made him bump. And when the near deer, not deer, excuse me. Sorry. They knew that Jared was in the woods that night that they had the Skype hunt or whatever. No. Snipe hunt. No. Sorry. I don't remember.
It's okay. You're fine.
They, for some reason, I think that some beings that are gone beyond the grave have a way of communicating with other animals. So the deer were trying to protect
Jared.
No, protect the spirit lady from being seen by Jared when he was in the woods, because she still had feelings for him and she couldn't come to see him directly. So the deer mainly bumped him to try and get him out of the way because she couldn't deal with the feelings she had. And I think that's all that I got to for an idea, but I know it says that the spirit lady has been there for a good while, but if she doesn't know, I mean, if she knows more than what she's letting on, she could say she's been there for a long time. But this could have happened only a few years before Jared got the
Amnesia.
amnesia.
So it's one of those, she's so distraught with what happened to Jared, she's just kind of twisting the details because
She
she's
doesn't want to let him know right there about what had happened, if this is right, and just saying it was a long time, so she isn't giving a lot away right at one time. But she also recognized the key that was around his neck, because when from the time that Jared had to dump the spirit lady, the times that Dr. Todd got to be with the spirit lady before she killed herself, she noticed that that key was one where he put his private possessions that he had locked behind uh, areas, and she could recognize that key from before they got married that night.
So it's almost a classic case of she's so distraught over berating him when she shouldn't have that she would rather him just forget that everything happened and Dr. Todd is somehow involved in it.
And he keeps on calling out, going to look for Dr. Todd in the cornfield because she wants to get revenge on him, but with her not being able to have her aura go out of the area from where the in room is, she can't go out beyond too far, but she only goes that far to look for him, even though she doesn't know exactly where he's at.
It does. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And the other thing that I was going to say was the one that they put with Dr. Jared,
Dr. Castillo,
the lady that was put with him to go investigate
yeah,
these
Dr.
things.
Castillo.
I think she also knows that. I think she's the daughter of the spirit woman, and she's trying to get more information to try and get this all out about who her to get all this out in the open so she can have closure for her mother's sake. And one little small tidbit besides, the two who own the inn, I think they're descendants of people who were in one of the first two marriages, either from the spirit lady to Dr. Todd, or the spirit lady to Dr. Jared. They're just descendants who have kept the inn going from when the first people who were like bridesmaids to the original wedding that happened either with Dr. Todd and the spirit lady, or Dr. Jared and the spirit lady.
Now, I kind of agree with Lenny as far as it was mentioned in the podcast that Dr. Todd doesn't really leave the enclosure too much. He couldn't be leaving because he knows that spirit lady's out there and she's out for his ass. So hence why, that's happening. But I never really considered the thought of Dr. Castillo being the daughter of the spirit lady, like a descendant, because why else would they be switching around all the workers? I think they switch because the people that work with Jared get too close to figuring out what's happening, and they're too great of a risk to reveal to Jared what's happening. So, all right, Casper, that's pretty much Lenny's take on it. So that was a lot, wasn't it? I mean, do you think that's interesting, or do you think that's a lot of good considerations? Like, how you feeling about that? I know you're not going to confirm anything, and that's fine, but I just want to know what your thoughts are on all that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. So, awesome job, babe.
Thanks.
So, see ya. He said that was super cool to listen to. Lenny says, thank you, Casper. All right. Well, that pretty much No problem. No problem. He's glad to. He was excited to. He told me all that this afternoon, and I wouldn't have been able to write that all down because I sometimes have trouble comprehending what people say. But that was definitely. I told him I'm like, you need to get on here and share that because that is a juicy theory. Oh my God, it's got drama, it's got mystery. It would definitely explain a lot of things. So all right, guys. Well, that is pretty much it for tonight. Thank you for coming on. Uh, Casper, real quick, are you busy after this? Hmm. Oh, it's all right. That's all right. Hey, don't ever feel like saying that you're busy or something. Don't ever feel like I'm going to be upset. We all have lives, we all have stuff going on. So it's all right. You enjoy your dinner. I'll catch you some other time. Uh, all right, guys. Well, you guys have a good night, and I will catch you all next time after episode 4 comes out. So, bye, guys. Good night.